reclaim this city for the glory of Rome.
You have something in you. Rage. Never let it go.
Are you not entertained? That's the million-dollar question when it comes to Gladiator 2 now, isn't it? I mean, the original Gladiator certainly entertained me back in the year 2000. 24 years later, we're getting a sequel without the main star? Did the original movie even need a sequel? Those are some of the questions every reviewer from here to Timbuktu was asking. And now we finally have our answer. Was this sequel worth the hype? Join me, dear viewer, as I dive back into the raging dumpster fire that is modern Hollywood. Before we dive in, take a quick second to hit that subscribe button. And if you really want to make sure you never miss out, ring that notification bell too. It'll help us break through the YouTube algorithm and keep this channel growing strong. The original Gladiator, which debuted in 2000 and directed by Ridley Scott, starred Russell Crowe as Maximus, a betrayed Roman general turned gladiator seeking vengeance against the corrupt Emperor Commodus, played by Joaquin Phoenix. I remember it being a gripping tale of betrayal, honor, and redemption. I mean, hell, the film won 5 Oscars, including Best Picture and Best Actor, and is renowned for its performances, visuals, and Hans Zimmer's score. Talk about a tough act to follow. But hey, this is Hollywood, and we've got to make every single IP into a franchise because we're completely devoid of imagination. Actually, scratch that. Studios aren't willing to take a risk on anything that wouldn't guarantee themselves a profit. They learned that with the Marvel franchise. Come to think of it, as a quick aside, the same exact thing happened to the car industry. Originally started by engineers, Ford, GM, and other car companies got taken over by MBAs, the business types that had no clue how to work a wrench. And guess what happened? The American car industry was flushed down the toilet with absolutely no way back. Similarly, Hollywood has been taken over by money men and creativity has been stifled. Over the past few decades, everything needed to turn a profit. Oh, this 24-year-old movie did well? Sequel. Right away, sequel. But no one was asking if this was even needed. Did the story warrant a continuation? The original Gladiator was a self-contained story with a beginning, middle, and an end. Where could Ridley Scott take this? I guess this is a good moment to give you a short plot synopsis on Gladiator 2. In the sequel, the story continues years after the events of the first film, focusing on Lucius, the nephew of Commodus and the son of Lucilla, who was once under Maximus's protection. Lucius, now an adult, is forced into the gladiatorial arena after his home is conquered by Rome's co-emperor Geta and Caracalla. Amid his battles, including clashes with wild animals and a naval fight staged in the Colosseum, Lucius channels the spirit of Maximus as he struggles to restore honor and justice to a corrupt empire in sort of a soft reboot. His journey is complicated by a series of family betrayals, a mysterious past, and a powerful former gladiator turned manipulative arms dealer played by Denzel Washington. When I put it like that, I guess the movie doesn't seem that bad now, does it? But let's dive a little deeper. The film tries to explore themes of vengeance and redemption as Lucius uncovers his lineage and fights against tyranny. Keyword: try. The film shows Lucius confronting personal and political turmoil. After the death of Marcus Aurelius, Rome sort of became a complete shit show. They had savage orgies, adventures in conquering new lands which they ultimately couldn't control, and pretty much no laws to speak of. The movie begins poorly right from the very beginning. Lucius is living in northern Africa, somehow traveled there, and is married to whoever that chick was, and then the Roman Navy shows up and sells him into slavery. But why was he even there in the first place? Well, after the death of Emperor Commodus and Maximus, Rome wasn't safe for Lucius, so Lucilla sent them away to wherever while she gallivanted with half of Rome. I mean, seriously, this chick got around. I guess it's no surprise since she did technically try to bang her own brother in front of Satan in The Devil's Advocate. But I digress. So the film continues to try to show Lucius confronting personal and political turmoil, including the revelation of his mother's role in his past exile. I feel that this bit could have been explored further, but much like the rest of the film, it was glossed over just to get to the next scene. Okay, his town got defeated, hurry up and get to the gladiator battles with the piss-poor CGI. Oh man, the CGI. We have to talk about the CGI. The first half of the movie, the CGI was so bad that it really took me out of the experience. The large naval battle was very clearly computer generated, and the transition from CGI to practical scene staging looked to be very rushed. Later on, we get to see gladiators take on a bunch of baboons. Obviously, they can't use real baboons because, well, real baboons will fuck your shit up. There's also the animal rights issues. Somehow, people in 2024 care a hell of a lot more for animals than they did in 2000. But they did have a tiger in the original one that they had to supersede. And supersede they tried. I'm starting to notice a pattern here. Ridley Scott tried to make a bigger, better sequel and failed miserably at every turn. From the terrible CGI to the mediocre score, this film just felt, well, rushed. It felt rushed in terms of production, but also its story. All the story beats just felt rushed. Ridley Scott had 24 years to take his time and actually plan it out properly, so what gives? Well, it all goes back to my point about trying to turn a profit. The video game industry has been notorious for employee burnout, and now the same thing is happening to not only digital effects artists, but to Hollywood itself as a whole. They promise to release something, rush it, and then it fails. The rushed nature of this film speaks to a larger underlying problem though. Hollywood seems to have moved away from cinema and just started churning out content. There's a difference. Cinema is a true artistic expression. Stories are beautifully crafted to have layered meanings and project larger messages and themes, whereas content, especially the TikTok brain rot variety, doesn't really have any meaning. It's just a bunch of statements cobbled together without a cohesive narrative to tie it all together. I'm not implying that there wasn't a cohesive narrative in Gladiator 2. There certainly was a narrative, but it certainly wasn't cohesive as it should have been, and just seemed like a rough first draft rather than a finished piece of cinema. The movie roughly had the same story beats as the first film. Roman royalty sold off into slavery fights his way out of it. That's fine, although as the audience we need to care about the characters. Lucius loses his wife? Yeah, okay. But once we get to the gladiating, the story forgets all about her and focuses mainly on the mother's effects on Lucius. I guess if Ridley Scott was going for a Freudian angle to this, trying to explore the weird nature of the relationship between Lucius and his mother, he also failed. And while we're on the topic of Lucius, Paul Mescal's performance was super flat and not emotive. The entire time I was watching the movie, I kept thinking Aaron Paul would have been a better choice to play Lucius. On our Mystery Movie Night livestream the other night though, friend of the channel Kyle Corwith did bring up a great point. Why didn't they just get Spencer Treat Clark to reprise the role of Lucius? I mean, that would have made a lot more sense from not just a casting perspective, but also a story continuity perspective. Just the photos of Salem's Lot showing an absolute jacked Spencer Treat Clark, he totally could have pulled off the role of a gladiator. So the casting of Lucius was absolutely baffling to me as well. But the question still stands. Are you not entertained? Well, you know what? Yeah, I actually was entertained by this movie. Wait, what? Is this movie as good as the original classic? No, of course not. Did it need to be made? Hell no. I got a few cool fight scenes, although the CGI was absolutely terrible and took me out of the experience on multiple occasions. Also, the excessive use of flashbacks and member berries to the original film also negatively impacted the narrative. It was like the movie didn't have the confidence to stand on its own and used its predecessor as a crutch, ultimately tripping over its own feet. So for the moment you've all been waiting for, yeah, not a thumbs up, but also not a thumbs down. As I told my friends, this movie was very mid. But what do you guys think about all this? If you've seen Gladiator 2, what did you think? And do you think that the messy narrative choices affected the final film? Please do let me know down below in the comments, And as always, hit that like button, ring that notification bell, and smash that subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one.
Okie dokie.